we have Jonathan on the line from Alabama. He wants to talk about the disaster that is sex education and its culpability in HIV transmission. Jonathan, welcome to the show. How can we help you tonight?
Thank you, V. Hi, Christy. Hi, Cynthia. How you doing?
Hi there, John.
Howdy, doing all right. Good to hear from you.
Good. Well, you did hear that I was from Alabama, so as far as disastrous sex education goes, it doesn't get much worse than Alabama in the United States. We compete for bottom in education in general in the first place, and as far as sex education goes, they're not even required to give it at a high school level. They're not required to give it at all.
Wow.
I mean, I just ended up pulling up some statistics on that, and it's they require children grades 5 through 12 to receive some instruction on HIV/AIDS through a health education program, but not in conjunction to sex education. And I don't know how do you break those two?
Yeah, how do you talk about it sexually transmitted? Yeah, I hear that.
How do you do that? Yeah.
Without further stigmatizing people with HIV, right? Because then you can
100%
them or kiss them like,
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bill in place to require sex education to be medically accurate and remove language pertaining to self-control and ethical behavior regarding that, and emphasize the discouragement of risky behavior and remove the requirement to teach that homosexuality is not an acceptable lifestyle. And the fact that we have a bill like that in 2021 is not great. We had some bills in the 2020 legislative session that unfortunately failed. Alabama's terrible to queer people.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I mean, that's not exactly breaking news. I suppose the question becomes, what is the solution here? What is the strategy? I mean, I know that that's an impossibly huge question. And for the folks who are watching this show and participating in this conversation right now, I know at least part of the solution is to actively combat the misinformation and the problematic belief systems of religion and to challenge those things in a public discourse. But ultimately, I don't know about you, V. I can't help but feel like no matter how many episodes of this show we do, the world is just scary and shitty in a lot of ways. So what do y'all's minds turn to as opportunity or solutions to even chip away at these things?
Well, I love what Jonathan said about making sure you're aware of what bills are being passed, making sure you're aware of what's happening in your state and local government, right? Making sure that this is, because these things seem like they're far removed from you, especially if you're not in high school anymore. Why should you care what's happening there? But like all of this has direct impact, not only on your nation, but your community and ultimately yourself. And so I think, Jonathan, what you're doing, being aware of what's going on, aware of which bills are passing and which are not, signing petitions if you need to, donating where you can, like all of this is very valuable, even if it feels like a little bit and maybe not enough to stem the onslaught. A lot of people doing a little bit can really help.
Yeah, I agree. And I will also say that Jonathan, I would also get like other like-minded people galvanized around these particular bills, and tell them, get in contact, with their state legislature when it comes to, what they want to see as far as like how we're teaching our kids in school when it comes to sex education. Because like, yeah, you as you mentioned it, like, how in the world do you talk about HIV and you don't talk about sex?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't understand that. I mean, like, it's insane that you can feel for some strange reason that you can separate the two. You cannot, especially when a lot of transmission comes through sex. period, you know? So like it's important for folks to be informed on, you know, how this thing can happen, even in this particular way, how to protect themselves, you know, in, you know, when it comes to sex. And also don't be afraid to talk about it. That when you were even talking about the bill, kind of reminds me of what Dr. King said. He said you can't legislate morality, but you can regulate behavior. And
Yeah.
yeah, and like, and even like with that, that means that policy is important. I feel like this is a Wednesday show, but you know, policy is important in this particular case because you want to make sure that government is doing its part in order to helping remove a lot of the stigma. And you know, a lot, and government can, especially
Yeah.
really making sure that church and state are separate. Like that, you know, religiosity, and even especially like when we're talking about sex and science and things of that nature, that should not be something that is an influence when it comes to school. It just shouldn't be.
Mm.
You know, like I'm not going to demonize a person if they want to go to church. If you want to go to church, that's cool. But when it comes to when we're in school and we're talking about science, and especially when we're talking about this disease and sex and things like that, we need to be leaning more on what's empirical versus what's inspirational, you know?
Uh,
And I
I'll-
wish that was something that was espoused more often. But yeah, you're doing the right thing, and yeah, galvanize the troops around, you know, supporting this bill, and making the legislators pay attention so that they can support it as well.
Yeah. And that's especially hard in Alabama, especially in the rural areas. We have schools that entirely ignore the church-state separation, and will actually have pastors come in to act as coaches, as speaking in the auditoriums and stuff like that, and end up actually giving sermons in school. Like it happened to me when I was a kid, and I found out from my niece and nephew that it was happening at their school, which they tell me about it again. When it happens, I'm going to get Freedom from Religion Foundation on them.
Good. That's what I was going to suggest. Reach out to them.
I'm prepared to file a report.
Good.
Yes.
Well, Jonathan, it sounds like you're doing a lot to educate yourself and the people around you, and just kind of be a watchdog, like that concept of just being somebody who is aware of what's going on, so that when this information does come your way, and it will, because it always does, you are able to accurately represent, no, actually, this is what's happening, and here are ways that you can help. The fact you're doing that, you're already doing more than a lot of people. So thank you so much for calling in.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can only do the good that's in front of you.
I like that.
Indeed. Agreed.
All right. Have a good night, Jonathan.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.